Okay, so I don't really understand why Apple would be releasing the M2 iPad Pro next month. And if they do, I really recommend you do not buy it. What's going on, YouTube? I had to make a quick little rant video because we've been hearing these rumors the last couple days that Apple's gearing up to release the M2 iPad Pro next month, alongside this other little budget iPad. I'm not sure if it's a new model, different from the iPad and iPad Air, but I don't know why we would need another budget model. I don't even think we need another iPad Pro model this year. And I'm gonna give you the reasons why. Number one is M2 needs some time to cool off. No pun intended. You see, the M2 MacBook Air had a pretty controversial release due to its performance, in some tests even getting beat out by the M1. So there's not a huge performance difference. Now, the M2 MacBook Air is a fanless device. The iPad is also a fanless device. So I would imagine performance between the two devices would be nearly identical, also meaning that the problems and issues with the Air would be translated to the iPad Pro. Now, the second reason would be, well, because of iPadOS 16. While it does offer some new features like Stage Manager and external display support, there's no feature that it has that the M1 doesn't fully take advantage of with no lag, no stutter. I've been using iPadOS 16 beta on this since it's released. This is the M1 iPad Pro. And I've had no problems with opening up Stage Manager and performance. There have been some bugs in terms of getting like external display support to work, but those are just bugs. No issues in terms of performance, and this is just the beta. So I would imagine it would get even better with time. And so if we had an M2, is it that it can run twice the amount of windows in Stage Manager? Probably not, because again, it's a limitation of iPadOS 16, as iPadOS has nearly always handicapped and limited the iPad. So I don't think we're gonna get double the performance or added performance or windows in Stage Manager because of the M2 chip. This would also break a kind of well-established rule that major updates to the iPad Pro happen every 2 years, not every 1 year. If we look at the original iPad Pro, it dropped in 2015, and we didn't get another one until 2017, which wasn't a refresh. Then in 2018, we got the flat design one, which influenced all of Apple's devices. But then we didn't get another iPad for another 2 years until 2020, where we got the iPad Pro 4, fourth generation. Then, of course, in 2021, we got a major update the following year. So now we're due for another 2-year gap. So if this comes out next month, again, I just don't see much of the benefit in terms of hardware, M2 over M1, or even software. Any added functionality seems to be non-existent, at least in features on iPadOS 16 that the M1 cannot do or does not support. So there is one reason that might lead me to pick up an M2 iPad Pro, and that is if these 14-inch rumors are true. You see, a couple months back, some news broke about there potentially being a 14-inch iPad Pro that could have the M2 chip and all that kind of stuff. And of course, Stage Manager could really take advantage of that. Everybody who's productive on iPad Pro could really take advantage of a bump of nearly 2 inches on the iPad Pro. And we know they can make 14-inch XDR displays because they did it with the MacBook Pro. So that would actually be a welcome change and might lead people, hey, if performance is all the same, might as well get an additional 2-inch screen. And actually, I think that upgrade would be well worth it for the extreme power users who need multi-window functionality. Of course, you'd have to go out and buy new cases, and I really like this case. Speaking of which, I have the ultimate iPad Pro setup right here. I'm not gonna spoil it too much, but it is functionally perfect, fulfilling every need that any iPad user could ever want. So I have a video on that. It's coming out in a couple days, so you're gonna wanna get subscribed to the channel and like the video if you enjoyed this kind of content, just a random rant type of thing, and click the bell so you don't miss when this video and new videos drop. Thanks so much for watching as we cover all things tech, Apple talk, and pro audio and video. I'm Chris Grant Jr. It's the Granite Geek Show.